Well, welcome back to another episode of Life Along the Streetcar, where we feature those that are having an impact in our urban core, which we define from University of Arizona all the way to A Mountain, and primarily structured along the streetcar route. My name is Tom Heath. I'll be your host today, and our guest is I'm learning in the pre-show here just a fabulous wealth of information. I'm kind of excited about this. We got Chandler Warden on. Thank you.
I'll just keep you acting. And I appreciate you inviting me in this morning. Thank you.
Well, it's all a part of our effort to keep Enrique Aldana happy. We have to do what he says. He asks questions, but he knows what the answers are.
That's the rumor. I've heard that.
he keeps things hopping in this community here.
He does.
But you are the president of the Bert W.
The Bert W. Martin Foundation.
Oh,
I was president, but my term limit ran out. So my niece, we kind of alternate that position. You know, it's just a part that we do, and so my term expired. So now I'm vice president.
Oh, well, you know what? We're going to have to end this interview. You were billed as the president.
That's it. I went down a rank.
You were billed as the president. Bring your niece in.
Sorry about that.
Well, when Enrique reached out and he said, would you like to interview him? Of course, I did we try to cover things in the urban core. So I did a quick check, and I'm like, well, no, this Martin guy, he's from Chicago.
Yeah, who the heck is this guy?
And then I did a little research, but huge impact here in Tucson. Before we get to that, are you from Tucson?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
I ended up in Tucson. Well, I grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
And in those days, years ago, Tanque Verde Ranch was a summer camp. And so my parents sent me here to Tucson to Tanque Verde Ranch camp.
Wow.
And I had a phobia growing up because, do my parents really not like me? Why would they send their little boy down to Tucson when it's 112 degrees for 3 months every summer for 5 or 6 summers
That'll teach him some lessons.
It's like, yeah.
That'll teach him some respect.
We'll straighten this guy out. And so that's why I ended up here. And coincidentally...
They left you?
Huh?
They left you at summer camp? Is that?
Well, pretty much. Get this guy out of here.
If you see my parents.
I know, right? Don't tell them a thing. But coincidentally, as a little kid, growing up in, pretty much in Tucson, and the reason I say growing up, because 3 months out of the year, is that all the first big things in a little boy's life coincidentally happened to me at summer camp at Tanque Verde.
Okay.
First horse, first chipped tooth, first broken arm, first camping trip, first trip to Nogales, first trip to San Javier, on and on and on. Those are the days we could drive a car up into Sabino Canyon Camp, way back then. And my aunt, back in the late 50s, early 60s, owned Hacienda del Sol. Wow. So I remember going there as a little kid. So all the firsts happened to me here, so it became in my blood, in my soul. And going to the Fox Theater in 1958 for the Mickey Mouse Club. And I've been going back ever since. So it's just kind of in me. And I used to come to Tucson every now and then when camp was over, when I was too old to go to summer camp. But I always used to come back and return to Tucson to get my Tucson fix. I come and be a waiter. I was a busboy. I worked for the Forest Service, Coronado National Forest, for the U.S. Forest Service.
So Tucson really became a part of you.
It did. And I kept coming back. And and I finally, after doing that, getting my fix and then leaving and then coming back, getting another job, I finally had a committee meeting with myself. Hey, why don't you just move there? So I did. 35 years ago, I bought my ranch.
Well, and the time frame though. So, and I just found this out, but you were a radio personality in California, right?
Yes, and in the San Francisco market. I had a morning show with my good friend. We're still good friends for 7 or 8 years. Morning.
What was your call? Like what was your call letters and
It was a country station.
Okay.
KEEN, Keene Radio, 1370. It was an AM station, but we had really good ratings. So we hung out for a while and did that. But after 7 or 8 years of getting up at 3:30 in the morning to be on the air at 5:30, that gets a little...
Tucson seems even better at that point.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I did that, and we did a lot of concerts, with groups like Alabama and Hank Jr. and
wow,
and Johnny Lee and Mel Tillis and Chet Atkins and on, and Merle Haggard. We had Merle Haggard across the street at the Fox. And I think his show at the Fox was his second to last show he ever did.
Okay.
He got mad at me because I went backstage. I said, "Hey, Merle, can I get a picture with you?" He goes, "Yeah." And then I forgot who took the picture. And then I got it. It was on the cell phone, and he got really mad at me. He started, really giving me the business. I go, "What's up?" He goes, "I don't like my picture taken without my hat."
Oh.
And it was somehow he didn't have his hat on. And I said, "Well, we can go get your hat, take another picture." And he just stomps off, and that was the end of that. But just very unique things.
You might be in the possession of one of the few photos of him without a hat.
Absolutely.
You can auction that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we've got to talk about Bert W. Martin, and his foundation. So this is a philanthropic group that I understand. I mean, you basically, you're in, because he's your grandfather.
Yes.
And you're running this organization here in Tucson. So you guys have been like involved with so many projects. I didn't even, like, it's a name I didn't hear until Enrique mentioned it, but you're very involved with
we're embedded pretty deep in Tucson. Yeah. And in fact, my grandfather, Bert Martin, was one of the first environmentalists, I believe. He was he had the Diamond Match Company. And so, therefore, he went on.
The Diamond Match is the strike.
Yeah, the
match
strike anywhere
the
matches. Yeah, right.
The
your
cool
belt
ones,
buckle,
the cool ones, the
heel of your
Cowboys,
boot, and behind your ear, striking. And he would, to move forward with his business, he had to buy timberland, in Idaho, Washington, Colorado, And every year there was an annual meeting of Georgia Pacific, Weyerhaeuser, and other big lumbering companies. And they got together the one year after my grandfather had purchased a lot of timberland. He cut down and harvested the trees, but he went back and replanted and, replacing what he took for his business. And all the other presidents and CEOs and board of directors of these other big lumber companies says, "Bert, what are you doing?" Well, I harvested the forest, but I'm replacing it, having a regrowth. And so he taught me that when I was a little kid. And that's how I got involved with the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum about environment, how important it is. And he was one of the first to do that. And so now those forests are now 80 to 90 years old. And I'm working on a project right now through Diamond, the new owners and management of Diamond International Matches, to identify where those trees were replanted. I'd like to go walk through those trees 80 or 90 years later, think, hey, they're here,
That's fantastic. And so this organization, did he start the philanthropy, or was this done in his name after he passed?
No, he started it.
Okay.
Yes, he was a brilliant guy. He grew up in Chicago.
Okay.
And he was.
I understand he's from Ohio, though. So he.
Yeah. He Chicago as a kid, then he moved to Ohio. Salvation Army took him in. And I'm trying to do some ancestry stuff, to find out how did he get there?
Yeah, so they took him in. His parents were not.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. We kind of lost track in our family tree. But as you're climbing that family tree, some of those branches can end up in very interesting places. And so I'm trying to determine that. But the Salvation Army in Chicago took him in and clothed him, housed him, and fed him. And he was blessed, and he was the first man ever to print on plastic. His first big job was with Wrigley Gum in Chicago, and him and Mr. Wrigley were good friends, and they always would go to the Cub games together and all that stuff. So he was very diverse in his invention.
What did he do with Wrigley? Like, how did he get involved? What was his?
I don't know how they met, but he was the first to print gum wrappers, and Wrigley was the first gum company to use that process.
Creates this technique and then gets absorbed and then works his way up in the company. So he's an inventor.
Yes.
So did he invent the match, the Forever Strike match?
He invented the process of packaging them in the box.
Okay.
And creating the logo and the printing on the boxes and that kind of thing.
Okay.
The long strike anywhere matches did exist before that, but he developed a better process of producing more from a sustainable source, which is really, I think, pretty cool.
So I did not realize that the match business was as big as it is, but that seemed to have propelled him into quite a fortune.
Yeah, it did.
And then, do you know what his motivation was with philanthropy? Was it the Salvation Army? Was it?
We give to the Salvation Army as a result of his, housing and being clothed and fed there for quite a while. But he wanted to give back because he grew up as a poor child, which I'm trying to find out on Ancestry, what happened to him, his story. Heard a lot of different stories with the family, but the breakdown, you hear different versions along the way.
Yeah.
So just trying to determine that. But he wanted to give back. And because people helped him when he was in crisis and needed a place to be secure. So he wanted to give back. He said the importance of giving back because somebody gave to him and helped him thrive and live, have a better life. So that's where the vision of that came from.
Then let's kind of fast forward a little bit to Tucson. So obviously you're here, but how does the organization form here? Because you didn't bring it with you from San Francisco, did you? You created it here, or?
Well, we have on my board. I have my brother who lives in Orlando, Florida, and my niece and my daughter live in San Carlos and San Jose, California. So what we do, we support the communities in which we live.
Okay.
So if I would move to somewhere else, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, or somebody else in the family would move to another location, they would take that with them and support the communities in which they live. And getting out in the community is so important because, and maintaining relationships with the agencies and organizations that you have a love for, and that's why I think we're so diverse here in Tucson.
Yeah.
I mean, really diverse. Everything from the arts, the Fox Theater, the Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've tried to focus on things that are essential and very important to the Old Pueblo definition of who we are as people, because we're such a really, I think, a magical community. We're very diverse in cultures and foods.
Yes.
Yippee, we're lucky there, right? And so I try to focus on the things that, again, define the term Old Pueblo.
Well, you mentioned,
for example, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned the Fox Theater going there in 1958.
Yeah.
And then one of the first things I read about that the Philanthropy was doing here in Tucson was just a year or so ago a substantial contribution to Fox's current ongoing drive.
Yes. And I think we're going to grow. The Fox Theater is going to grow. Our Tucson community is going to grow. We're going to grow, but we have to do it responsibly.
Yeah.
And, we can't lose the flavor of what Tucson history is all about and trying to protect that. I think that's really important. That's why I've focused on my philanthropy and the Fox Theater, 100 years old. Rodeo Racetrack, 85 years old. Tucson Rodeo Parade, over 100 years old.
Which you were the Grand Marshal.
I was the Grand Marshal in 2000. When was that? 2016. Oh my God! 10 years ago.
I was reading that article, and I remember. I don't do a lot of research, but sometimes things pop up.
Yeah.
And you were quoted in that article about going to the parade, I think, with your dad at some point.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Well, you take it from here then.
The Tucson Rodeo Parade has always been in my life, going back to the late 50s, early 60s. How old am I now? And I remember my dad took me there. I think it was in 59 or 60. And we're standing along the road, and he goes, my name's Chandler, but everybody called me Chan. Hey, Chan, my dad. Hey, Chan, look, there's the Grand Marshal. Hey. And then 65 years later, I was a Grand Marshal. This is like, wow, how cool is that?
Well, how cool is it that happens, but also, to your point, the fact that the tradition has continued, now for over 100 years.
Yes.
And mostly run by volunteers. We've done some stories on the rodeo and
sure.
And had Herb Wagner in the dedication of this community to keep that going is
so important, and it's a generational thing. It's like, a lot of the folks on the Tucson Rodeo Parade Committee are, they're getting older. They've been around a long time, and the key to keeping the history of that event and all important things in Old Pueblo history, is bringing in getting the younger generations interested in the cowboy lodging, the cowboy life, and what it means to represent yourself or an idea in the parade every year. It's very important. We have to keep that going.
Well, in the parade, I know in talking with Herb, it was a product of economic development 100 years ago. You know, people trying to figure out how do we bring more people into.
Yeah, what do we do?
And it was a big part of downtown. It's now moved a little bit south, but it was a big part of the development of this area.
In fact, the parade used to come right down Congress in front of the theater.
Yeah.
Fox Theater.
Yeah, and then you see these interesting convergences of photos because you've got the parade, and then you have like the Monica Flynn photo, and you have the Fox Theater in the background.
Yes,
and so it's a very interesting look at Tucson life.
Yeah, definitely. And it's great to have and one of the local affiliates broadcasts the parade live every year. It's great. It's awesome. It's really good.
This is just amazing to me that I've been in Tucson roughly the same amount of time. I moved here in 1993.
Yeah,
and it constantly amazes me that the things that I don't know. I've been doing the show for 10 years now.
I know, right?
And I think I know less about Tucson when I started, because I find all of these connections of people that are just passionate about making Tucson a better place, or keeping the history and connecting it. And we could go on because I think you and I share the same concept here, that in the 1960s we did a really poor job of protecting our history.
Yes.
And now we're kind of tasked with realizing that our history is who we are, and as we're going to go forward, it has to be on top of that, not in spite of it.
That's the thing about Tucson. Tucson, to me, and I mentioned it earlier about, we're blessed to be here. And to me, it's kind of a magical place, and everybody else as well. Tucson has grown, of course, back when I first came here in the late 50s. Tucson surrounding area is like 35,000, maybe 40,000 people. Now it's a million plus or whatever, including Green Valley and whatever. But the core of Tucson has never changed. It's a connected group. It's a connected community. And a lot of people go, "Oh, well, I'm gonna move out of Tucson and go to wherever." They always come back. They always come back.
Yeah, I've talked to several people on this show that are guests that went on to do something elsewhere, but then there was that same thing that pulled you back from camp after camp was done.
Right.
There's something about Tucson that pulls you back.
Yeah, what is it? I've been trying to figure that out, but it exists. It's beautiful, and people are really. I think we all work together on cultural ideas and events, and everything from jazz to country to the theaters, the arts, the food, because it's amazing.
Yeah. And how long have you been working for Visit Tucson and promoting?
Oh man!
So the Bert W. Martin Foundation. Where do we find more of that? Is there a website? Do you publicize your grants?
Yeah, there is a website. Bert W. Martin. No, it's BertMartinFoundation.org.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of things with my thinking of philanthropy here in Tucson has been really diverse. Everything from the arts to hospital to animals at the Desert Museum over the hill and all that. We just a couple of months ago did a ribbon cutting for expansion of the pediatric emergency room at Banner. And that was much well needed. And the vision behind that was when a child has a trauma, an injury, an accident, whatever, where do you go? The emergency room. Well, emergency rooms are pretty scary places sometimes.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to find in there. So, and when you have a child with an emergency or trauma or something really catastrophic happen, you take them in a place like that, it deepens their wounds and they're become more afraid, and they're not. So we created a waiting room as well at the same time. So the waiting room is new. The new expansion of the pediatric emergency room is new. So trying to lessen the trauma level on children.
And to think that it started with a child at the Salvation Army and overcoming those challenges.
Yeah, that's true.
And bringing, I know it's probably been used before, but lighting that match that started this whole spark here.
It's really funny. About matches. It's funny. My mom, when I was growing up, my mom and dad smoked. Okay, they owned a match company. Honey, do you have any matches? You don't have a match company. You don't have any matches. How does that work?
Oh, shoot. Well, Chandler Warden, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in here today. I'm sure we're going to have you back because I just know you're going to be involved with things. And now that you're on the radar, there's your name's going to be popping up all over the place for me.
Yeah, right back at you. You know, I got a lot of stories.
I don't doubt that for a second. And if you, we'll definitely have you back and talk more about some. Now that I have a better understanding of this really intricate philanthropy that's happening, we can delve into some more of these projects.
That'd be fun. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's nice meeting you. Thanks again for having me in.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, we are Life Along the Streetcar. Appreciate you spending some time with us here on our most recent episode. We like to cover the things that are happening economically, socially, and culturally in the urban core from A Mountain to the University of Arizona. Each week, our music is brought to us by the duo of Ryan Hood. We thank them so much for letting us use their song Dillinger Days. And I want to thank James Portis, our executive producer. My name is Tom Heath, your host. Hope you tune in every Sunday for another episode of Life Along the Streetcar. And until next time, stay curious, Tucson.
Can I bring my ukulele next time?
Stay curious, Tucson.
All right.